What's going on, YouTube? This is Lloyd Phillips with the Lifetimes Podcast. Another week here. Listen, if you've ever went to a dance recital and somebody did a lot of clogging, I'll probably talk about that, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And also, I did bring up an old story about the greatest talent show I've ever been a part of. I just thought it was great. Anyway, listen, like and subscribe, leave a comment. Love everybody. Let's get to the show. Welcome back to the Lifetimes Podcast. I'm your host, Lloyd Phillips. Layton, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
Super good. This week, I was out of town, and I flew in. I flew in at the same time, but they changed the high school football game because of the weather. It was supposed to be tornadic activity. Twister was supposed to be in town, like the movie. And it seems like every time they adjust, school or tornadoes, every time they adjust a schedule for that kind of event, the event never happens.
Yes.
So it rained for about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That was it. But so I told them, I can't get there by game time, but I'll be there. So I had a friend fill in, my friend Aaron. Principal Aaron. I think everything's smooth. He said, "Hey, you're going to be here." When I was on the plane, I'm like, no. He's like, "I'm just playing. I got it handled." So then I fly in and I get here, at like 7:45. Game started at 7. It was senior night. There's some announcements and some other stuff. I don't know. This is just what I was told, but the microphone wasn't working. It was squealing. It was hurting people's ears. And they're like, what is he doing up there? Which is sad because he's a real smart guy. Like, he's not dumb or anything. And he knows how the system works. I mean, he was, before he became the principal, he was a high school football coach, but he was also the coach who was in charge of all the cameras and all that. So he knows, like, it's not like he's done with this stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm hearing things aren't going smooth. So I walk in and he tells me that. With the squealing, and the microphone's not working. So for the entire first quarter, they got through the senior night. But let me start. So when they sang the national anthem, he still had his phone hooked up to this jack. So when she's singing the national anthem, there's a rap song in the background. like they're playing a rap song in the background while she's singing, and somebody was like, Your phone, your radio's on. Well, they probably didn't know it was a phone, but like, the music's playing.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Like, the music's playing. So he like scrambles and shut it off. And, the microphone wasn't really working. So when I got there, they had played an entire quarter. I walked in when the second quarter was starting. Like, it said 12 minutes right when I walked in. But by the time I got the thing running, so I walk into the press box, and he's got his back leaned up against the wall, and he looks at me, and he's like, "It's not working." So they're not even trying. They've already tried. So it's all weird. The clock guys are running it. Aaron is frustrated and is mad at it. He gave all the effort he could. So as I'm walking up the bleachers, I don't know how bad it is. I just don't hear anything. I know the sound's not working because Blake told me. He texted me. He's like, "I don't hear anything." So as I'm walking up, it's like, "It's about time you're here." It's about time, like, people as I'm walking up the bleachers. And I don't think I'm the savior of high school football here, but I mean, maybe. You know? So, but I walk in, I mess with stuff. I can't figure it out at first, and I fumbled around a little more. I got it working. So the sound started playing. It was 5 minutes left until halftime when the first announcement was made for the game. And I hit this little cardinal chirp thing, just for the podcast. Watch this. Nope, that's not it. That's not. Well, whatever. Doesn't matter. Apparently, I can't get to it from here while recording. Anyway, it was this Cardinals chirp. So when I hit it, like 4 or 5 people started clapping, and so they knew, like, oh, it works. So the thing worked from here on out. So what makes me laugh about that story is that Aaron, who's completely not a dumb guy, it makes it look like I was some kind of sound genius when I showed up. I replaced one chord, which you brought. Like, I was like, "Layton, I need this." I tried to explain it just over the phone. And I was like, "This is what I need. Like, you got to have it." And right when you ran it up there, it worked.
Yeah, it was really weird. Well, my wife was in the garage painting, and so from where our house is compared to the stadium, we can hear everything. So when you announce on Saturday mornings or Friday night and we're not there, we can hear. She was like, I came down with the cord, and she was like, "Yeah, you need to get there pretty fast because it's all jacked up." No, that was the first time when I met you at the circle with the original stuff.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Yeah, it's all jacked up. It keeps going in and out. They're squealing. The mic, you can hear them. It's cutting out." Anyways, so I get to the game, and I'm like, "This is so weird," because I thought, even though she told me that, I thought that there would still be some sound. I go, and I'm like, it didn't even seem like the football game was going on, because you're so used
weird.
to. Yeah, it was so weird. Yeah.
I noticed that when I walked in, it sounded weird. But so that's the thing. Layton, people don't know the Verdigris community is looking at me. I mean, they're not really. They're not laying in their bed right now thinking about that.
Like, thank God
on Friday
Lloyd showed up.
Yeah, but there are people like, oh, Lloyd got it dialed in. They don't even know that you're the unspoken hero in this whole thing.
It was like a movie. I pull up, park where there's a sign that says no parking. Tell the lady I'm running this to the sound guy, Lloyd Phillips, and she's like, "You go," and literally she's like, "You go," and so I'm run up the bleachers, give him the cord, he plugs it in, does the chirp, problem solved.
Yeah, it's a real big deal.
Yeah.
So I took that was Thursday. I took my stuff because it was my stuff. I mean, well, it's a cord. It was not like I did have to go reconfigure some microphones because whatever they did, it wasn't whatever. I mean, at least did that, but I took my stuff because it was my stuff. And, the rest of the world who listens to this podcast all the time knows that I do the little kids also. So I went into a text. I said, "Hey, do you want me to do this game?" Because I was going to be out of town because of the storms. The little kids games got moved. They're playoff games. And because I was out of town, they already hired some high school kids to do it. Of course, they wanted to do it. They pay them and all that.
Yeah.
And so Friday, just to make sure, so it wasn't on me, I'm like, I'm just making sure, like, I'm not supposed to be there. And they're like, "No, you're good." And I said, "Okay." 10 minutes later, they called me. The games started at, I think, noon or 1. Let's just go noon. I don't remember what time. But it's supposed to start at noon. And so I got a call at 11:45, and they're like, "Hey, we can't make the sound work."
Crap.
Well, because I took my stuff. So I had to go take the same stuff back. Well, I didn't actually, you don't know this because whatever. The stuff is over here. It's here.
Yeah.
Well, I just found another cord similar to what I had, and that's what I
and it
took.
worked.
And so I fixed the sound for the little kids game too. I mean, it's really like the games aren't happening. I'm the source of entertainment locally.
Yeah, it's not happening without Lloyd.
Yeah, you're welcome, Verdigris. You're welcome. What did I tell you all that? I don't remember. I don't remember at all. I did soccer today. No, that was the other day. Soccer, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm almost done with it. It's almost fall. I'm getting to the point where I feel like I don't have anything to do.
You're probably one of the busiest people I know.
Well, I mean, I'll probably still be doing stuff, but not like. I just feel like it's there's no mowing or anything like
Winding
that.
down.
Yeah. I don't even know how to transition to this. It's just something I thought about. So I used to live in Corpus because my wife's from there, and I'm not, just keep in mind as I tell the story, I'm not making fun of every dance studio in the country. I got a friend who his daughter won Miss Outstanding Teen Owasso or whatever it was. And, she's one of the 4 or 5 girls in the pictures that has a crown, whatever that means. So I'm not, and she's a dancer. That's where I'm going with that. And my oldest daughter's best friend, she does dance. So I'm not making fun of dancers or dance, or that's not the purpose, but I am, but not really, not them. When we lived in Corpus, our youngest daughter, what you do when you have, I don't know. Did you ever put your daughter in dance ever?
No.
All right. Well, so we put her in dance because she was 2, and we're like, "Oh, it's cute," like that kind of stuff. So she was in dance, and she, they just do this one-legged tap to the side or the front. You can't see it on the camera, but it's like, it's like, it's not lots of movements.
Yeah.
And then they may do their arms over their head like a rainbow,
yeah,
like that kind of stuff. And then we all clap, or you say, "Oh, look how cute," or, I don't say those words, but, you hear people say it. So she worked real hard for it could have been 3 months, 6, whatever it was. And they had this dance recital. I don't remember if it was yearly. I don't remember if it was twice a year. All I remember is going to one. It's what I remember. And the dance studio, and I'm going to say her name because I don't live in Corpus anymore. I'm fine with it. It was Miss Tiffany's dance studio. Not Tiffany, Tiffany.
Yeah.
Tef with an E. Nobody you know in the world is named Tiffany. And anyway, Tiffany was real intense dancer. She had real intense eyes. Like she was intense. I mean, she was a nice lady, right? But she was intense at the same time. Not like that lady on the TV show, Dance Moms.
Oh, yeah.
She wasn't crazy like that. That lady's an idiot. Like that lady probably is really in like a home or will be eventually. But Miss Tiffany was nice. She was just real intense.
I think that lady went to jail.
Did she?
I think so.
Her and Martha Stewart probably. Yeah. So I'm just I'll just skip forward because it's not even an interesting story. It's just, so we get there. She does the dance moves. There's like 49 other dance things that you got to set through all of it. And then there's a special. And it's every time. I think I went to 2. Every time there's a special. You know what the special is?
What is it?
45-year-old Tiffany does a dance solo. She's 50 something now, probably 50. She could be 45. I don't know, man. I'm just saying there was a bunch of little kids and maybe high school age, and then you skip 40 years, not really 20, 30. And Miss Tiffany always does a solo.
What a treat.
And there's look, bro, I'm not that athletic anymore. I'll get to why that in a second. But it wasn't good. Like I didn't feel like it was good.
Yeah.
Real nice lady though. And the studio, I guess, is really cool, especially for little kids. And I was about to say, just now I was about to real quick pop off and be like, I could do without the solo. No, I think if I ever attend another one, I hope to see
expect the solo?
a Miss Tiffany dance solo. Yeah, I hope I get to see it. I may just fly in just to watch one. I won't tell anybody while I'm there, but I'll fly in to watch it. So at the soccer fields the other day, I'm going to make this TikTok. You guys will end up seeing it. But I got a friend. I got a 6-year-old friend.
Oh, yeah.
Named Hudson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to tell a story about Hudson when I was at Wichita, the soccer tournament. Like there were a few of them, but very intense kid. He's very intense. And but he says I'm his best friend.
That's awesome.
I mean, I'm sure on Mondays at school I'm not his best friend, but he says it out there. So he always wants to play catch, and we were playing catch. Do you know what jackpot is?
No.
See,
I don't think so.
All right, so for anybody that doesn't know, I'll try to explain it to anybody who has no idea. I used to call it 500. So you take a football, you'd have one guy, maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 people down there, and you'd throw the football in the air, and whoever caught it, it was this amount of points.
Oh, yeah.
If you caught it in the air, it was this amount of points. If you just caught it on the ground, it was this amount of points. That was like the thing, and you went to 500. Mm-hmm. And when you won, I guess you were the quarterback.
Yeah, you were the throw at that point, yeah.
But, which is funny, you want to win, but then you're not doing the game anymore, so whatever. But that's it. They were calling it jackpot, but the way they were doing it is the quarterback guy would throw it to 3 people. They were kids. And then whoever caught it then was the quarterback, and I had to rotate. Well,
interesting.
Well, I was playing with it, but these kids were like 6 and 7 years old. But because my best friend wanted me to play with them, I was playing with these little kids. Well, then I noticed some adults were recording me. So I noticed they were recording me, and so I wasn't going to get punked by these kids now that I know I'm getting recorded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can't lose these kids.
The podcast is on the line at that point.
Yeah. And so, there were a couple throws there. I didn't feel like they were going my way. I felt like those kids, I felt like they threw them to their friends.
Oh, yeah.
But just because I knew the cameras were rolling, the first time before the cameras were, this is probably why the cameras were rolling. Because the first time I went back to receive, I pushed both kids down and caught the ball. Then people started recording. So then it was a quarterback. I threw it. I rotated back in to go receive. So when I caught the ball, I turned around. Now, if you've heard of all my ailments, I can't throw the way I used to. But in that split second, I forgot that my shoulder hurts. Okay. No, I didn't throw it out or anything. It already hurts. But I caught the ball and then I turned around and I threw the ball about 50 yards in the other direction and put my hands up with number one fingers. And then I didn't play anymore. I won that deal right there. I got a little wonk.
Oh, heck yeah.
There. So, yeah, I beat those kids. They're not that good.
I would hope so.
Sorry for the interruption, everybody. Sorry for interrupting the show. I was just going to tell you, hey, I need you to know that people say, where'd you get that lavish beard? And I say, well, the lavish beard I grew because I'm a lavish beard grower. But the reason it's so silky smooth is because I use Winchester Ranch Beard Co. products. Top oils on the market. I've been using them for years, or last year because it just started. But that's why my face looks so good. Tell your friends and use that. Okay? Talk to you later. Forgot one. American Survival Co. Everybody, American Survival Co. They're the top survival school in the entire world. I know when everything for my survival needs, that's how I use American Survival Co. Go check out their website at americansurvivalco.com. Get all the details and information about team building exercises and all the things that you can do. It's really an awesome place. And the two guys who own the place, they also are the host of the new Netflix show, Snowflake Mountain. And that's awesome. Go check them out. Now back to the show. Love you.
You want to talk about your basketball coaching?
Yeah, I am the assistant basketball coach for our girls.
Yeah, that's good. Here's what I noticed today. You were wearing tube socks and real short shorts with hairy thighs. That's what I noticed today.
That's the style now.
So some people would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you were looking at my legs, obviously, so.
You were really putting them out there.
And I had some Air Maxes on.
Yeah, you were like you were like this guy last night at the football game, the little kids game. Oh, I forgot, not to make it like a Verdigris. Nobody wants to hear that, really, unless you're from Verdigris.
Yeah.
But there's this local dentist guy who I got to know in my time here in Verdigris, America, and it was cold outside and windy, and so people were kind of bundled up. And he's just rolling the biggest thigh-high shorts he could find in his closet.
Yeah, heck yeah. You saw me on, Friday night?
And he still looks like he tans. And so I was – and he did something really weird. He didn't know that's what he did, but he got up in the middle of the game. He walked to one end of the bleachers. I guess he decided whatever he needed wasn't down there. So he turns and jogs to the middle section of the bleachers to run down. But he looks like he's David Hasselhoff in Baywatch, with his hairy thighs running that are golden brown, and I start yelling at him from up in the stands. I'm like, look, God, whatever I said. You look at him trying to show off with his 10. I don't know what I said, but it's too cold for that. Like, put pants on. But now it's a tradition. They all won. So I think just out of superstition, he's got to.
Oh, yeah, you got to bring those back.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Is that Keith Hasselhoff? Actually, I didn't call him that the other day, but I will from now on.
Yeah, that's his name now.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good day.
Well, I started talking about basketball, and you made fun of my hairy thighs.
Oh yeah, my bad. I got a little carried away.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to double check my wardrobe before I walk out again to coach.
Yeah, it looked good. Looked super good.
That's what Lloyd does when he doesn't really mean what he says, but I don't care.
You ever go deer hunting?
Never, and I probably never will.
What?
Oh, I'm going to sound like a wimp.
Well, I mean, it depends on if Walking Dead becomes a real world.
That's true. I mean, if I had to, I would, but I just don't see. I don't want to go sit in the tree when it's freezing to potentially see a deer. Or not see a deer for 7 hours and then come home. Like, that does just not sound. I'd rather go golf.
That's exactly what. So look, there's a lot of hunters. There's actually probably a lot of hunters that listen to this show. I don't go hunting. I don't. But there's no but. I'll get to the but in a second. I'll go hunting for all the reasons that you just said.
Oh, okay.
So because when I was a kid, Dad would want to go, and the only time he would want to go would be 4 a.m. So I'd wake up, and I'm 43 years old, and I don't recall a time ever in my life where I wanted to wake up early. which is a crazy thought. I've said it on here before. I feel good when I wake up early, but I just don't. Like my body rather stay up later than get up early. I mean, it's just, but you get up at 4 and then it would be cold when we would go. And, I just wore more clothes. Back then, I didn't know of layers and all the warmth tricks. I just put on more clothes. So I literally would be like the kid in the Christmas Story where he can't move his arms. And I would go out in the woods and I literally couldn't move at all. And then like my feet were still freezing because I just had whatever shoes I had. They weren't boots or anything warm or whatever. And so I would have 9 layers on and I'd just be sitting in a tree. And my feet were freezing. I couldn't feel my hands. And it was just, and then we would sit there. And more times, often than not, when I was a kid, we would sit there from 5 a.m. to noon.
Ugh.
You get home. I didn't take a nap. I guarantee I didn't take a nap. But I'm sure my dad did. And then we would go back out at like, I don't know, 2 or 3. And be out there all day long. Mm-hmm. Well, listen, man, I mean, I haven't already lived at that point. I hadn't lived life. I didn't have a regular 9-to-5 job. It's probably relaxing when you get older. I very well may find it relaxing now if I were to do that. But as a kid, I got to go to school, and all the other times I don't want to go because when it was deer season, we would go at nighttime after school, and then we go on the weekends, and then we'd go. It filled every gap I had, and I didn't. That's why I didn't like it when I was a kid. It filled all my time. So I wasn't just out there being in nature. I wasn't smart enough to think that was cool yet. Like just being in nature and it was cool. And then, because I do know from hearing like deer hunter stories, they like it because sometimes they just watch the deer. There's a lot of people that just watch the deer.
Yeah.
They're there to shoot one, but if it's not the one, even other bucks, as they call them, they won't kill them. They're looking for whatever. And so then you get a lot of stories where one time I saw the deers fighting for 30 minutes and that kind of, you get cool stories like that. But as a whole, I don't want to do that. If I knew, and I also don't necessarily want to go South Texas hunting necessarily where like, hey, we got a guided hunting trip and you show up at 7 and you shoot your deer at 7:15.
Yeah.
And then you're back at the, I don't necessarily think that would, it wouldn't hurt my feelings to shoot at one, but but that's not really
that'd be scripted.
That's not the same either. So I don't even know where it falls in between. I'm just saying I'm not really a hunter guy, but my 96-year-old grandpa, who he'll talk. I did a podcast and it lasted a couple hours. Like he talked the whole time, but we didn't talk. We didn't tell deer hunting stories. I almost want to do a podcast with him to tell deer hunting stories.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, because my whole life, he doesn't always talk. He'll talk to you, but he's not really a talker. He'll talk if it's just you two and you're asking him questions. But the only time I ever see him get really fired up is when he starts telling deer hunting stories.
Yeah.
But it's all the same story. Every time, to me, it feels like at the same time, he's like, I saw that buck down there about 200 yards. He's down there in the holler. That's not how he sounds, but he's like, that deer was down there about 200 yards in the holler there, and he's like, I was there in the thicket, and I knew the wind's coming out of the north about 5 miles an hour, and I knew they could smell me, so I rolled around like this right here on this side. I rolled around about right over there, and I drew down on that buck like this right there. Said, let that air go, drop him where it's dead. Like, he will tell the most intense, the most detailed stories ever when he starts talking about shooting bucks.
Yeah.
And according to him, now I'm just saying, I'm not mad at my grandpa. Listen, everybody where I'm from who knows him, they're all going to agree. Be like, well, that's what he says.
Yeah.
He don't shoot does. I don't think he ever has. And at one point, I'm sure it slacked off because he didn't hunt as hardcore as he did. But at one point, he had killed more deers in the state of Oklahoma than any other person. Well, because if you hear the podcast, there was no deer in here supposedly until he was like 16 or 17.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they were imported from, I don't know, southeast Oklahoma, or wherever they came from around this surrounding area. So they weren't like in northeast Oklahoma. And so it wasn't like he was hunting deer when he was 3. So he had been hunting, though, since it got here, and he shot them all with a bow. I don't know, man.
That's impressive.
Yeah, but that's why I wanted to take lessons from him because I don't really shoot bows and arrows. I'm not a bow and arrow shooter.
Yeah.
I did a podcast one time. I rolled into the Locust Grove Founders Day Parade. They're like a top national shooting archery team, like high school team and middle school. And you pay money to shoot against the middle school kids. I think I beat them.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They weren't as good as I was. Probably just runs in the blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guarantee it. Speaking of that, when I referenced my friend whose daughter was the beauty pageant lady, she's also one of the top shooters in the nation.
That's
archery,
awesome.
Like archery
Yeah.
shooters in the nation. Yeah, so she's like a... You know what she should do?
What?
Instead of doing dance routines for these pageants, archery shoots. Like she's putting a target up down there.
Yeah. Like in between the audience.
Oh my gosh, I got it. She should have the target set up. She should clog in to whatever music, like do a clogging routine. And while she's clogging, you know how they do.
Yeah.
And then draw back on the bow while she's clogging. And then stop and just fire it up right to center.
Bullseye.
Yeah. And if she doesn't, then her routine sucks. But she hits the bullseye. Like she's the top clogging archery shooter we've seen.
Oh, yeah,
this side
ever.
of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
Probably ever.
Yeah.
Probably ever. I don't know many people who clogged and then shot the deer.
Yeah, I can't think of one person.
No. And I don't know. Would the deer run if you clogged? If you did a clogging routine?
I would assume so.
I know, but what if they were mesmerized by your top quality
Like
moves?
they fall into like a trance or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
They're like, oh my gosh, how did you learn to clog so good?
You probably have to ask your grandpa. He'll probably know.
Listen, I'm not mad at this family. I very much love them, and for all I know, they listen to this podcast. But I may make an enemy for life
I
here.
think I already know what's coming.
No, I don't think you do that. But I know I know. There's some of the finest people I know. Let me say that before I start, because when I start, if they listen to this, they're going to be mad at me. I'm just saying. Dad deer hunted and he fished. I rode bicycles and I was at the park every day. And if I wasn't playing basketball at the park, I was playing football in the backyard, maybe even baseball. Every day, even if it was an actual sports season, those were things we were doing at nighttime. So I didn't grow up in the clogging arts at all. And when at church, random Sundays, I don't ever know how they got scheduled. I was a kid, but random Sundays, you'd have somebody singing a special. Nobody's singing a special for what I'm about to tell you. I'm saying, like, sometimes, so you'd have this, what do you call them? Not quartet if there's three of them. What do they call it if there's three of them? I don't know. Three-tet for the sake of this story. The three-tet got up there. It's not it's quartet. It's the trade-tet. Whatever it is.
What is that?
I don't know. And so many people right now are like, you guys are
you
stupid.
guys are freaking stupid.
But whatever. So they would get up, they'd sing a special, and to be honest, they actually sung really good. And this guy who I'm about to reference, him and his family, he was in that.
Oh,
that
yeah?
group.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they'd sing. It was pretty good. And then you may have a special where somebody shows up one day and plays the piano and sings, whatever. And then you have this one family, and they would do a family clogging. They didn't sing while they did it, straight up clogging to the music. Now, I was a kid then, and I wasn't an adult. I didn't appreciate the clogging arts. I just didn't. I'm just saying. I didn't know the work it took or the athleticism, maybe the rhythm. I didn't know that. So the family would get up and they would clog in unison and just be skipping all over the stage, like that kid on the TikTok video. Like, have you seen that TikTok video in the last couple months?
No.
Oh yeah, like getting it like that. Sorry, I reference TikTok all the time. You don't listen to it, but I see a lot of stuff on there. So like clogging away, and they would like do a family clogging, and I would just sit in my seat, just baffled, maybe dumbfounded. I don't know, where I'm like, why are you doing this? And like, why? Because, like you're at church, like people play a song and sing or whatever. We're doing a clogging for Jesus on this.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remember thinking that thought it was an odd deal. And I never forgot that. I never wanted to clog because of it. And because of that, like when I grew up, people would say I worked with a guy who him and his family clogged, and we were equals, but he was my boss.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
we were the same level in the tree, but
Yeah.
no, he was my boss. I guarantee it, because he was over operations and I was over safety.
Yeah.
And when you look at the chart, it looks like it's the same, but it's not the same.
No.
Yeah. So him and his family clogged, and when I found out, I just started in. I didn't know, right? I didn't know. And somebody's like, Bobby clogs. I'm like, and I laughed, and they're like, no, seriously. And I'm like, Bobby clogs? And like, yeah. And I crossed Bobby in like the next 5 minutes or whatever. I was like, hey, bro, so you've been doing a lot of clogging, I heard? Like, but that's the way I talk. I already, like he knows that I'm digging already.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I clog. And he didn't laugh, and he walked on. And then somebody came in and was like, no, bro, he's serious about that. Like, you don't make fun of him about clogging. Then, well, like, even if he's serious about clogging, the only reason he got mad at me is because he knows it's nerdy. And then somebody proceeded to show me a video.
I was waiting on you to say it.
Of him just skipping across the stage, and I'm like, what you don't know about that guy at work is how serious he is and dedicated. And he's like kind of an intense guy. He can be funny, he can be a nice guy, but he's an intense guy overall. And I see a video of him clogging across the stage, doing his fancy clogging moves while he's smiling, doing his head like he's a Dutton and Branson. It's like skipping across the stage. And I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing, Bob? You're a nerd, man. And they're like, no, don't say anything about that. But I had already popped off. So then I I didn't immediately go in, but when I crossed him later, it was like, hey man, that's pretty cool you clog. It's like, it takes a lot of effort, man. I can't do that. I mean, I can't clog because I don't try, but it does take a lot of effort. It doesn't matter. I think the damage was done. We're still friends to this day, but I just never talked about clogging again. So I probably marked down 2 people who weren't going to talk to me next time I see them because I talked about their clogging work.
You weren't as harsh as I would be about clogging. I had a kid that I went to school with that clogged and did it as a talent show, and it was pretty brutal. That's what I'll say about that.
It would have been the greatest talent show I've ever been a part of.
Oh man, I've just never seen something that just looked so nerdy.
Oh, my cousin Dane was the greatest talent show I've ever been a part of.
You're what?
Look, if I've told this, it was literally in the first 5 episodes. Yeah.
Well, I am at the edge of my seat.
My cousin, this is what when I was in 3rd grade. All right, so my cousin Dana, in 3rd grade, we had this talent show, and every year, it doesn't matter. Let's just skip what I did. It don't matter. Let's get to her.
No, what'd you do every year?
Whatever I
Just
did was
briefly.
awesome. What I did was awesome.
What'd you do?
Me and my friends did Beach Boys songs.
Oh, heck yeah.
And, then we would have synchronized flip to the other side surfing, 180 type stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, we figured it out. But anyway, so we get to my cousin Dana, and she's going to do a special. And she either just did it at her house or took lessons for baton twirling.
Oh.
And we're not talking about like Langston band stuff here. We're talking about, I think she might have did it in her yard by herself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
self-taught. That's even more impressive.
Yeah, she was self-taught. So she self-taught, got up, and they start this routine, and it's the Dirty Dancing song. No, I had the time of my life. That was the song. And so when the song starts, she's stands in the center of the gym floor, and she's twirling the baton like this, and she's like feeling the beat. But what you don't know is she had like a Dora Explorer haircut where her bangs were cut off 2 inches above her eyes. That's important to note by this. There's no way that the bangs can get in her eyes. None. There is no way in the world that her bangs can touch her eyes. And so they start the song like, now I had the time of my life, and she's like feeling it, just doing the regular hold it out in front of you twirl. And then she's like waiting for the part where it goes doon, 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 doon.
Yeah.
And then it goes dun, 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 dun. And then that's when she starts.
That's when she's about to bust a move.
Oh yeah. Then you can't see it on the podcast, but that's where she starts tapping her foot she's twirling and tapping her foot. Dun, 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 dun. And then, but when it gets to the part where I don't know the words, but when it gets to the part where he goes, just remember, with that part. Oh, that's when it came alive.
Oh, that's when it's.
Oh, that was when she did the first baton toss. So, like, she threw the baton up in the air. So she's in the center of the gym floor. She throws the baton up in the air. Like 20 feet. It's a good toss. Like, real good toss. And she's still standing there waiting to receive the baton that falls back in her hand. But it didn't fall back in her hand because it was 30 feet over there to the right. So she runs over and grabs the baton. And when she grabs the baton, she picks it up. She picks it up and she gets right back on beat. But she tilts her head backwards and shakes her head like this to get the bangs out of her eyes because all the hair's in her eyes. There's no hair in her eyes. And so she did it. She shakes her head for like 5 seconds and gets right back to the, she's fired up again. She throws the she throws the baton in the air again. It's not even close. It's like 25 feet over to the left. So she runs over and picks the baton up and shakes her bangs out of her head again. And I was a third grade kid. As a third grader, what I remember was, not even an adult. I was a third grader. I know this is what I would think to this day. I thought, you don't have bangs. Why do you keep shaking the hair out of your eyes? The whole thing was overshadowed by her shaking the hair out of her eyes. She don't even have hair in her eyes. And she finishes. She didn't get. I skipped one part. Every baton throw, she would do a twirl. And that's where she lost.
Yeah.
Because if you just threw it straight up, maybe you'd make an attempt to go get it. Mm-hmm. No, she did the twirl, lost it in the air, and that's when it just was not even close. And she would hear it bounce and then run and get it. Yeah, so when it was over, she did like 4 or 5 baton tosses, didn't catch it one time. Now, and she always shook the bangs out of her eyes. There's no way that it got in her eyes. I'm going to fast forward about 20 years, and I was telling those stories on stage when I did stand-up comedy shows. And I called her one day, which is a funny thing for me to do because if I ever call anybody and ask them if I can talk about them on stage, I've already done it for about 6 months. So I said, so I called him like, hey, Dana, is it okay if I talk about you on stage? Listen, man, we're like 25 years from this story, maybe even 30. And I said, hey, can I talk about you on stage? And she's like, maybe what? That's how she worded it. And I was like, well, listen to the pause. This is really how it went. I'm going to do both parts here because this is really how it went. And the fact that she said this so fast, I'll get to that part. I said, Dana, can I talk about you on the talent show? She's like, well, what? And I'm like, well, when we were in 3rd grade in the talent show, so you're going to talk about me because I didn't catch the baton? I've never told her about that. She doesn't know that I make fun of the bangs in her eyes. She didn't know that I remembered that she didn't catch the baton. Yeah. We're talking about 30 years later. Yeah. And she immediately said, why? Because I didn't catch the baton one time. Yeah. And I start laughing uncontrollable. And then I'm like, well, yeah, that and the bangs thing. And she remembered. Yeah. It obviously had seared into her soul. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. She planned this routine she'd been working on for 2 weeks before the tryouts. She caught that baton every single time in her front yard. Well, maybe. That's because she didn't throw that twirl in. That twirl was for game time. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You don't practice game time. Yeah, she woke up, she was eating her breakfast. She's like, you know what? Yeah. I'm going to add a twirl right in the middle of my baton toss. I guarantee the twirl is what was missing. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she that like seared her soul. She didn't clog or anything after that. That's freaking awesome. Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, all right, I guess we'll get off here. I appreciate everybody listening in. I hope I didn't offend. Like, I don't offend the audience. I'm just saying, some of the people there. I hope they don't listen. Yeah, you might be like the first person to get canceled for slandering clogging. Well, they're not going to the world's not going to cancel me. My friends may next time I see them. Yeah. This is going to be terrible. So, all right. Anyway, love everybody. Thanks for listening. Put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. His team did not win the World Series. One of his teams did not win the World Series.
We didn't even talk about that. You had a rough sports go.
Well, hold on, and then we'll end it. But I'm actually an Astros fan, and all my friends know that. But since I was talking about Pete Rose and the Phillies made it, I'm like, perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I'll buy this old jersey. I'll buy this hat. They didn't win at all. Well, they won one game, but I was like waiting for them to win the second because that's when I got all the stuff in.
Yeah.
And I was like going to wear it, and they lost every day, which I'm okay. I'm actually an Astros fan, but whatever. Better luck next year. I'll wear it on the podcast.
Yeah, heck yeah, I'll wear my Phillies hat.
Anyway, so love everybody. Have a good week. Talk to you later.